Okay. All right, let's take a seat. And here's that spot where you get to take a moment and notice and be aware of what it is going on in your body. And if you do have any of that tension through that low back pelvis area, then you can just take a moment here with your hands on your hips to do a little tilt forward and back, just gently. Doesn't have to be extreme. I tend to avoid the extreme myself. So then as you find a little tilt forward with your pelvis, let your hands rest down, and then let your shoulders lift up and back, and let your eyes close. As you take a couple big breaths, you get to use your breath to do that observing of your body and what's there for sensation. And then even notice for yourself what sort of energy, what sort of prana is present, that life force energy that's always there, but how it's demonstrating shifts. So just take a moment to notice. And then as you bring your hands to connect at heart center, use a little press of palms, a little lift of elbows to lift up through your heart space. Lift your ribs up, your collarbones up. And then as you exhale, bow toward your heart, tucking your chin in, take a big deep breath. Then softly opening the eyes, you can release the hands down and lift your gaze. And again, your shoulders are moving up and back. And then take a moment here to bring a little movement into your head and your neck. You've got ear to shoulder, or a shake of your head no, or a nod of your head yes. Really moving between those in any way that is calling to you. If you notice that there's one that feels like it's most beneficial, then you can stay with that for a little while. And as you find that movement that is helpful, that range of motion through the neck, and start to notice down into the shoulders as well, all that connective stuff, right? Just notice any tensions that are present that might connect neck to shoulders, shoulders to neck, however you want to think about it. And as you come back into center now, let's take hands to clasp behind the back side of your neck, or back side of your head rather, not your neck. Press your head back and then draw shoulder blades onto your back, even as you open your elbows up. And from this place, take a couple big breaths into that space in between your shoulder blades. Even as you're hugging your shoulder blades onto your back, try to expand that space in between them. And then a little side to side sway here so that you can get that length from hip to armpit. As you do so, you're thinking of letting your elbow reach toward the ceiling, letting that top elbow open up a little bit more. Taking that little bit of pause on each side. You have one more on each side. And then as you come back into center now, take your hands in front of you to clasp, pull forward with your arms and round back through your upper back. Your chin tucks in here, and a little movement here side to side through your shoulders so that you can get a little more stretch down further into your back. Then inhale, come back into center. Your hands stay clasped, but turn your palms forward. Plug in with your shoulder blades. Make that space at the top of your shoulders, and we're trying to keep that even as we lift our arms up. Take a full big breath and press up. As you press up, your arms will move more towards your ears, but keep broadening through the tops of your shoulders. So you have both of those actions going on. As you lift up with your front, think of lifting with your thumb side. Take a full big breath and start to engage a tiny bit into your low back and into your rib area. Take another big inhale, lift up more through your front. And exhale, release your hands down. You can rest your hands however it feels comfortable and roll back with your shoulders. And now let's go ahead and switch the cross of the legs, coming to the less comfortable cross for yourself. Shift your sitting bones, move them back and broad. And then with hands coming to your upper thighs, right up at your hip creases, give a good press down. This is anchoring through the femur bones, giving yourself a little grounding action, and add little movements here through the shoulders, through the sides, through the pelvis. And then walk your hands out to your knees and begin gentle movement through a cat and cow here. Inhaling, belly and heart forward. Exhaling, press back through your spine. Couple gentle movements. Just allowing that tilt forward and back through the pelvis. That expansion into the front of the chest and the expansion behind. And then sitting tall now, walk your fingertips forward, coming into a tiny forward fold, not a deep one. As you take that tiny forward fold, we're then going to get our side stretches in. So walk your hands over to the left side and walk your right fingertips further forward of your left. Think of gently rooting down through your right sitting bones. You have a little more space between your right hip and armpit. Take a big deep breath into your right ribs. And even more so, see if you can send your breath into your low back muscles on the right side. And then back into center, we'll walk our hands over to the other side, over to the right, and walk your left fingertips a little further forward of your right hand. And again, you're gently reaching through your left sitting bones, not a deep reach, just a little reach. And then take a big breath into your ribs and your low back on the left side. And then gently bring your hands back into center and all the way back upright, and then walk fingertips just behind you. Press down, lift up and open through your chest, expanding into the heart space. Take a full big breath, and as you let your belly tilt a little bit forward here in this little bit of a back bend, also do a little gentle engagement through the low belly. And then come all the way back upright. And now we're going to bring our feet out in front of us for a moment. Take them out to a comfortable distance with bent knees. And hands come to your knees. And take a couple rounds here of cat and cow. Again, gently moving, not taking it to the deepest place you've ever gone, but instead tuning into whatever sensations are there through your back body, maybe through your rib cage or low back muscles, or that space in between the shoulder blades, whatever is showing up. One more big breath here. Inhale to sit tall and exhale to press back. Then inhale, sit tall again, and you're passing the left leg underneath the right, bringing your left heel back towards your hip. You can still be sitting on something here if that feels the best, or you're welcome to take that something away if that feels better. And then your right foot is either on the inside or the outside. And we're not going to take a giant twist yet. Instead, we're getting that stretch all the way through the chain of muscles on the outside of your leg, through the glute, maybe into that low back area. So you're hugging your knee towards your opposite shoulder. Engage the feet and sit tall. Take a big deep breath. And even more so here, as you sit tall, doesn't move a lot, but see if you can find that little tiny bit of tilt of your pelvis so your belly is moving forward. One more big breath here. And now gently bring your foot back into center and left foot comes out as well. And from here, we're going to take our right arm across the outside of our legs, left fingertips behind us. We'll take the other side in a moment, I promise. Press down with left fingertips behind you and find lots of length and lift. As you start a little gentle twist to the left side, draw your ribs in to help you aid in that twist. And then inhale, come back into center. And now we're going to take the right foot through underneath to the left side. And as you move it towards your hip, again, remember, you don't have to be sitting on something. I'm just choosing to myself because that's what feels good. And then the left foot comes to the inside or the outside, whichever helps you in this stretch. And remember, we're coming to that stretch through the outside edge of the leg, through the glutes, maybe into a little bit of the low back here. So hug the knee in like you're trying to move it to the opposite shoulder. Engage the feet and sit tall. And remember, that sit tall has to do with the pelvis, right? So tilt your belly forward, take a full big breath. And then gently release. And then you're walking both feet out in front of you again. And this time, left arm comes across the front, right fingertips behind you. And as you press down behind you, lengthen and lift. Exhale from the ribs, draw in and twist. Full big deep breath. And now inhale, come back into center. And we're going to do a little bit more through the hips from a sitting position. And so again, you can have something underneath your hips, or you can move it if you feel ready to. Create a base with your left leg. And then pick your right leg up. And so you're holding knee and foot here if that's comfortable and you're able to sit tall all the way from your pelvis. Or use your right fingertips behind you if that just feels better to help you sit tall, okay? Flex your foot and then move side to side. This little rocking motion. Take a couple big breaths. And without trying to change anything, just notice how much your leg is moving, how much your pelvis is moving. Sometimes when we have tightness through the hips, through the hamstrings, the quads, the low back, whatever happens to be tight for you, then the whole pelvis tends to move here. And that doesn't mean try to change it. It just means make a mental note. Yeah. Okay, so now we're opening that leg up. So the knee is moving back toward the wall behind you. The foot is aimed forward. So this is that variation of half happy baby pose. Hand beside you. As you use your left hand for a little support, create a little push back and a push forward, or a pull back and a push forward, I should say. Lift up nice and tall through your spine. Take a full, big, deep breath. And now we're going to do a little movement from a hamstring stretch to a twist. So as you inhale, work your leg towards straight, stay tall through your spine. As you exhale, you're turning your hips, your torso, bending your knee, and tapping your heel to the floor on the left. Long through your spine. Inhale, open it up. And exhale, tap that heel. Inhale, open it up. And exhale, tap. And remember, your right hip can lift here. You have one more. And then as you inhale and come to that hamstring stretch, give your foot a flex, lift your chest, and then gently release. Bringing the right foot into that base position. Left leg gets lifted. You're holding onto your knee and foot, or just your foot so that your left hand can be your helper here. And then rock as you sit tall. And again, notice for yourself, where is the movement happening? For me, this side tends to move my pelvis a little bit more than the other side does. I just get to take that information in and smile with it. Big, deep breath. Okay, and now we're going to find that half happy baby pose position. And when you take this, I didn't say it on the other side, but you can hold on to your shin or even behind the backside of your thigh here if that's more accessible. Sometimes it just is if you're feeling tight. And then right fingertips beside you or behind you to help you sit tall. Give a flex to your foot and then pull back and push forward. Find that resistance. Big deep breath. One more full breath here. And now we'll take that movement. So inhale, extend long into that hamstring stretch to your degree. Can be a pretty considerably bent knee here too. Exhale, take that twist where you tap your heel on the other side, left hip is lifting. Inhale, lift up long. Exhale, twist. Inhale, hamstring stretch. Exhale, reach it across, long spine still. One more, inhale and exhale. And then inhale for a moment here into that hamstring stretch. Lift your chest, lift your heart, full breath. Good, and then gently release your foot down. Let's take soles of feet together. You get to check out the inner thighs, see how they're doing. And if, as you come into a little forward fold here, if your low back is rounding back and your pelvis is tipping back, then shift your feet a little forward or put your hips up on something. I'm going to take my blanket over my feet because that's my favorite variation, but you can always do blocks underneath your knees here. But you can roll up a blanket and set it over your feet if you want, and wrap the edges underneath. Hold on where it feels the best to you, and that might be right behind you to help you sit even taller, to tilt your belly forward, lengthen through your spine. And then if there's some movement there for you that feels comfortable and still long through the spine, then maybe fold forward. Folding forward is not a necessity. As a matter of fact, sitting up tall here is still a fold because your body is in that L shape. So take another couple of breaths here and just notice where this needs to be for you. And now think about pulsing with your breath, letting your inhales help you lengthen all the way from the pelvis and the tailbone. Letting your exhales help you find that spot for yourself. It doesn't mean go deeper. It just means find the length with your spine and find the place where your body needs to be. And take another full breath right here. And then inhale, gently bring yourself back upright. And we're gonna take our knees back upright, take the blanket away, and then find your bolster and bring it to the front of your mat. And we'll come into a twist here. Personally, I like this because it does get it a little bit more into the one-sided part of the low back. So I find it helpful, but you get to decide how deeply you go in this. So we're gonna sit sideways, facing the right side, left hip is against the bolster, and then bending your knees, feet are toward the wall behind you. Turn your belly and your heart toward the bolster, and then you can even physically pick your hips up and turn them more if that feels good. And then start to find your way to rest over your pillow or bolster. And as you find that spot for yourself, take some big breaths. And remember, as we come into some of these restorative poses, the idea is to find where your body can settle the best. And so shift enough to find a place that is a little bit more easeful, a little more comfortable. Maybe adjust how much you're twisting. Maybe adjust the angle of your legs. We have a couple more deep breaths right here. And then you're using your hands to support you, to bring your torso back upright. And then we'll turn ourselves to face the other side. And as you turn to the left, you're bending your knees. And then you can physically pick up and turn your hips a little bit more so your belly's more downward if that feels okay. And then adjust where your bolster is to rest. Full breaths, as full as your body is ready for in this twist. Two more deep breaths. And then use your hands to support you. And now this time, we're gonna keep the bolster where it is, but we're gonna turn onto our hands and knees and come to rest directly on it. You can give a little space for your head and your shoulders off the end, but come to rest with your belly completely over it. And then arms come out in front of you, and you can always set your head down on your arms here, or you can set your head down on a prop. Your choice. Now, the other part of this, if it's comfortable, is to bend your knees out to the side, turning your toes out. And then we're taking some big breaths in this crocodile pose. And this is specifically meant to help your belly expand into your bolster. And with that comes expansion into your low back. If you find that knees wide is uncomfortable on any part of you, then you're welcome to come to more straight legs behind you instead. If it feels good, you can exaggerate your breath, even allowing a little pause at the top of the inhale with the belly expanded. And then a slow, drawn out exhale. We have about 20 more seconds here. And so in this, you can let your breath calm if you want to, or you can keep exaggerating your breath. And now gently draw your legs back in if your knees were open to the side. Use your hands beside you to help you push all the way back into a child's pose. And let's come into a child's pose with the bolster. So you can draw your bolster in as far between your legs as is comfortable if you want, to be able to rest your head down on the bolster. You can always turn your head to one side. Or if it feels better to keep your forehead down on your bolster, that's okay too. Turning your head to the other side if you have it turned. And then gently use your hands to support you to bring yourself all the way back upright. And you can set your bolster aside. And now we're going to use our blanket to get a little bit more into the calves and hamstrings with a little Thai massage. So we've done a little stretching of them. Well, mostly the hamstrings. But we're going to find that roll again with our blankets. And I will turn sideways so that you can see. I know that you might have done this with me before. So if it's comfortable to be on your knees, then this is where we'll go with it. If not, then you can set your legs out straight and just put the blanket underneath your thighs, okay? But otherwise, we're gonna come forward so that our forehead is on the ground, or it could be on a block here. You don't have to bring it all the way to the ground. And then your blanket all the way up into your knee pits. And you're pulling it and wrapping the edges around your legs toward your face, and then begin to sit up. And as you sit up, you might find some sensation. It's kind of the purpose of this one. So you get to notice how much sensation is there, and if you need to let off a little bit so that your nervous system can calm, then walk your fingertips forward. But otherwise, as you come up to a seat here, we're going to bring our hands up to our upper thighs and do a rock side to side. So we're gently moving from the inside to the outside of our calf muscles, and even from the inside to the outside of our hamstrings, right up near the knee connections. As you move side to side, be aware of the sensations. The tendency when things get really sensational is to go to our happy place and try to avoid what's going on. But a part of being able to let the nervous system do that calming is to stay with the sensation. Notice what it is. You can notice where and how intense. Have more intensity on one leg than the other. Okay, shift forward and move it back to about halfway down the calves and sit back again. And so now it might be a little different in the sensations. For me, I always feel it a little bit more in the hamstrings now. And then a little rock side to side. Again, that opportunity to get into the insides and the outsides of both sets of muscles is one of the awesome benefits of this thing. And as we all know, calves are directly related to what's going on with the shins and the feet and the knees. Hamstrings are also directly related to what's going on through the glutes, the low back, the quads. So there's a lot that these two sets of muscles really do for us. And then shift forward again, move the blanket back toward the bottom of the calves. And now you're coming more toward the sitting bone area of connections for the hamstrings. And then again, a little rock side to side. And the lovely thing is that the sensations change with each of these places because we don't tend to use our muscles exactly the same throughout them. And then we also don't tend to use the muscles on each side the same way either. So the bottom of the calf muscle might feel more intense on one side than the other, maybe. We have just one more full breath here. And now go ahead and shift forward. You can take the blanket out and then sit all the way down and extend your legs out long in front of you. We've done a lot of work on the hips, the glutes, the low back, and now the hamstrings and the calves. So just take a moment with fingertips beside you to lift up tall and then flex and point your feet and just notice. Not with any kind of intention here of stretching something in particular, but just so that you can notice what sensations are present. Good, okay. So before we come down onto our backs, we're gonna take that same stretch that we took at the very beginning with our, not the same stretch, but we're gonna turn it into a twist rather. So bent knees, send your left leg through to the right side, so your heel is back by your hip. And now right foot to the inside or the outside, you choose. And so as we were sitting before, we just did the stretch of pulling the knee in toward the opposite shoulder. We're gonna start there, pull the knee in, tilt the pelvis so the belly is coming forward, you lift up more through your ribs, and now let's go ahead and take the twist. So if you want to, you can switch to your left arm, wrapping around your right knee, thumb on the right hand comes into the hip crease, and give the thigh bone a little push forward. You're tilting your pelvis, so your belly is coming forward. Inhale, lift up taller. Exhale, ribs draw in to help you twist. And you're welcome to switch to fingertips to the ground if you want to, but try to notice where the pelvis tends to tilt back. Full, big, deep breath. And now inhale, come back into center and uncross the legs and switch the cross. Right leg through to the left side, left foot on the inside or the outside. You can always have a blanket underneath the hips here if that makes things more comfortable. But then first hug the knee in, lift the ribs, and then as you start to take your twist, you can switch to wrapping the right elbow if you want to. Thumb into the hip crease, press the thigh bone forward, think of pelvis tilting so that your SI joint on the left side is moving forward instead of back. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, ribs draw in to help you twist. Maybe you switch your fingertips to the floor. Maybe you keep your thumb right in the hip crease. That tends to be my favorite because it helps me to keep that position of my SI joint. Take a big, deep breath. Inhale, come back into center and uncross the legs. And then we're coming all the way down onto your back. And from your back, make sure you can reach things. Make sure everything is close by. But set feet, take hands to your upper thighs, right up at your hip creases, and give that press so that you have a little tilt of your pelvis. You might feel a little space happen between your low back and the ground. Take a big deep breath and let your breath fill into those low back muscles. And now draw your right knee in toward your chest. Left leg extends out. Give a little hug inward with your knee. Take a full big breath. And then take your leg across your body, spinal twist to the left side. Shoulders shift a little bit over to the left to help that right shoulder come down. And then feel free to open the arm up here if your shoulder is down, or you can always just keep your hand right at your side. Take a full breath as you find that place in this twist that is where your body wants to go. And now you can use a prop if you want to, but we're going to extend the leg long. And as you find that extension, you're trying to find where it can also be a little bit of a release. So propping yourself is always a nice way to find that. And then you can notice that length through the outside of your leg here. You might even run your fingertips along the IT band. Take another couple of breaths, recognizing where exactly those sensations are. Full deep breath right here. And then you're bending your knee, coming back into center here, and give your knee a squeeze. And then switching sides, left knee draws in, right leg extends out. Give a little squeeze in toward your side. And then take your leg across your body, finding that spinal twist here to the right. And as you find that for yourself, again, shifting your shoulders over to the right a little ways is sometimes a nice way to make that shoulder safe spot with your left side. And then arm can extend if you want to, or you can keep your hand right at your hip or your side. Big deep breath right here with that bent knee. And then as we extend our leg out long, feel free to find a prop, find that place where it feels the best for your leg to open up. And then again, if you want, you can run your fingertips along your IT band. IT band is one of those tricky spots to stretch sometimes because it's not a muscle, it's a long piece of connective tissue. And sometimes when we stretch it, it's not actually stretching it. And then the other part of it is when we roll it out or massage it, especially if we roll it out and put that full weight on something, then it can actually bruise things. So we need to be a little bit gentle with the IT band. Take a couple more big breaths right here. Even take a moment to recognize how the sensations might be different than they were on the other side. And then bend your knee to bring it back into center. And as you come back into center, give your knee a little squeeze. And then set both feet on the ground. And walk feet wide. And we'll come to that favorite of all favorite kind of ending stretches to do with the windshield wipers. And as you take knees from side to side, find that little pause on each side where maybe the opposite hip lifts and rolls a little bit to the other side. Maybe find that extra length through your thigh. One more time on each side. And now this time, come back into center and you're gonna heel toe your feet in just a tiny bit. You're not gonna take them all the way in, but enough so that when you take your knees over to the left, you have a little angle off to the left with your right knee. And then from that place, come up onto your big toe mound on your right foot as you start to roll your right hip a little bit to the left. Getting a little more maybe into that pocket muscle. Maybe checking out the SI joint area a little bit here. Reach through the thigh. And as you reach through the thigh, you might find that helps you to roll a little bit more. And then come back into center. And then take the legs over to the right side. And again, you have that little movement of your right leg or your left leg over to the right side rather. And now you're coming up onto the side of your big toe mound and then rolling the left hip further to the right. Full big deep breath. Again, finding that reach through the thigh. And then gently back into center. Draw knees in close and then open them up wide. Feet are flexed, and from that place rock just a little bit. And now releasing your knees a little bit away from you, you're gonna cross the right leg over the left, so your thighs are crossed. And take your hands to your knees to draw your knees in as close to your torso as is comfortable. And now, if it's in your practice, you're slipping your hands as far down your shins as is comfortable to maybe open the shins a little bit more. So you're drawing your legs in toward your chest. Maybe this gets a little bit more of a stretch into the glutes, into the low back perhaps, noticing into the hamstrings. Whatever is there for you, give your feet a flex, take some big breaths. And then gently release the legs. And you're switching the cross of the legs, so the left thigh crosses over the right. Knees draw in as close as is comfortable, and then start to slip your hands down your shins toward your ankles. They don't have to come to your ankles. But then if you think about lifting your shins up toward knee height, and then drawing legs in toward your body. Sometimes that's accessible. Sometimes you need to keep one or both legs a little closer to your hips. Take a big deep breath. Feet flexed. This helps to provide your knees with a little stability here since we're crossing our legs and our knees tend to turn a little bit. Take a big deep inhale and exhale. And notice if there's any difference in the sensation on this side. And then gently releasing your legs, uncross your legs. And then we're going to find our way into our most comfortable resting pose. If you have any tension through the low back or the hamstrings, you're welcome to find that propped up place for your thighs. You can always bring soles of feet together and knees opening over that bolster instead for more of a butterfly position. Find that place that feels the best. And take a deeper breath. Bring gentle movement into fingers and toes. And as you're ready to, you're bending your knees and rolling to one side. And then slowly, gently pressing yourself back up to your seat. And then go ahead and find a comfortable seat, maybe sitting up a little higher on something. And we'll take just a couple minutes in a short meditation. As you find that comfortable seat, find a long spine. Think of even allowing your pelvis to tilt a little forward, your belly forward. And then lengthen, lifting up through the ribs, collarbones, crown of your head. Eyes can be opened or closed, whichever feels the best to you. And palms can be up or down. Palms up invites some energy in. Palms down helps you to ground. So you decide what you could use today. And to begin to bring your awareness to your breath. Observing it moving in and out of your body. Start to utilize your breath as your tool to help you notice body sensations, general feelings, even thoughts in your mind. And bring some awareness to the length of your inhale. Just simply noticing the natural length. Giving it a count, maybe a 3 or a 4. And then as you exhale, slow your breath down, letting it be just a little longer than the inhale. Inhale for that natural count, 3 or 4, whatever it is. Exhale to add that extra couple of counts. Maybe it's a 5 or a 6. And keep going this way with your breath for a couple of rounds. And now bring your awareness to your heart space, even as you take these breaths. Letting your breath move, but also noticing right at your heart, right at your chest. As you take these breaths, start to notice a color, a light, whatever color that happens to be. Maybe it's a white. Maybe it's the color of the heart chakra, green. And sometimes it's a matter of choosing because maybe a color doesn't come naturally. Still noticing that inhale to that natural count and that slightly longer exhale. And begin to notice as you breathe, this light, this color at your heart, starting to go brighter or grow brighter each time you take a breath. And begin to let that breath or that color rather move, moving up into your throat, and into your head, down into your ribs, and into your torso, your hips, moving out through your arms, fingertips, down through your legs, out through your toes. Connect hands together at heart center. And with this light moving throughout your body, in whatever color you've chosen, and maybe it's shifted. Let's come to this mantra of I'm always safe at the center of my being. Inhaling, I'm always safe. Exhaling at the center of my being. Draw your thumbs to connect with your third eye. And back to heart center. And bow towards your heart. Have a very peaceful and beautiful day. And have a wonderful weekend. Namaste.